Here's the reality. Colorado housing tenant law protects actual tenants in actual dwellings. If Frederickson was living in a garage, office, RV, or other non residential structure without a valid lease or legal right, most tenant protections simply don't apply. He can't create rights by calling himself a tenant on YouTube. Below is a clean, practical breakdown of the Colorado statutes that matter, what they require, and why they likely do not apply to Frederickson. Number 1. Colorado Residential Landlord Tenant Act, CRLTA. Primary statute, Colorado Revised Statutes, CRS, Part 38-12-101 at SEEK. Applies to residential dwellings, landlord-tenant relationships, tenancies, leases, month-to-month, etc. Key tenant protections, right to quiet enjoyment, habitability standards, notice requirements for eviction, security deposit rules, proper notice for entry, repair and deduct/remedy process. When it does not apply, if the dwelling is not legally residential, if the occupant is not a tenant, no lease, no rent, no agreement, if the occupant is squatting, if the occupant is living in a non-residential structure, garage, office, storage room, if the occupant is in illegal occupancy. So if Frederickson was in a garage, office, RV without legal permission or lease, CRLTA protections are likely unavailable. Number 2, Colorado eviction process for residential tenancies. Primary statute, CRS 13401 at SEEK. What it requires: a landlord must follow a legal eviction process. Written notice, typically 3-day, 10-day, or 30-day depending on reason. Filing an eviction action in court. Court order for removal, sheriff's enforcement. What this does not cover: non-tenants, non-residential occupants, illegal occupants, individuals who were asked to leave and did. If Frederickson left voluntarily or was not a tenant, there is no eviction requirement. Number 3, Colorado Habitability, Warranty of Habitability Primary Statute, CRS, Par 3812-505. What it requires: landlords must keep premises safe, sanitary, compliant with building codes, habitable for residential living. Why this doesn't apply to Frederickson: if the structure was not legal residential housing, habitability is not a right. If the structure is a garage office, it's not required to meet residential code. Number 4, Colorado Security Deposit Laws. Primary statute, CRS 38-12103. What it requires: return deposit within 30 days, itemized list of damages, proper notice. Why this may not apply: if no lease or rental agreement exists, if no deposit was taken, if occupant is not a tenant. Number 5, Colorado Unlawful Detainer and Tenant Protections. Relevant statute, CRS, Car 1340-103, definition of unlawful detainer. This only applies when a tenant refuses to leave after proper notice, a landlord must use court process. Not applicable if the occupant is not a tenant, there was no lease, there was no agreement, the occupant was in illegal occupancy. Number 6, Colorado Mobile Home RV Laws, if applicable. RV occupancy is regulated by local zoning codes, county health and safety codes, state RV park licensing requirements, if applicable. If he lived in an RV on a property without proper zoning or permits, that is a violation, not a tenant right. Number 7, Colorado Squatter Adverse Possession, irrelevant but important. If someone occupies property without permission, they are a trespasser. They do not gain tenant rights unless they meet strict requirements, usually years of possession, and even then, it's not a tenant situation. Frederickson's claims are not strengthened by squatting. How this applies or doesn't apply to Frederickson: if he was a tenant, then CRLTA applies, but only if there was a valid rental agreement or implied tenancy, the dwelling was a legal residential unit, he paid rent or provided agreed-upon consideration. But he cannot claim tenant protections if he was living illegally in a garage or RV. If he was not a tenant, then he has no standing to claim landlord-tenant protections. He has no right to sue over eviction process. He has no basis for retaliatory eviction claims. If he was illegally occupying, then code enforcement is lawful. The property owner has a right to remove him. No tenant protections apply. What to look for to prove he was not a tenant? You need evidence of no lease, no rent, no written agreement, no rent receipts, property owner statements under oath, public statements by Frederickson admitting he was squatting, code enforcement records showing illegal occupancy, Lack of residential classification for the structures. Bottom line, Colorado housing and eviction laws protect real tenants in real residences. Frederickson's own behavior, illegal occupancy, unpermitted construction, RV living, and public statements, likely disqualifies him from those protections. If you want, I can. Draft a legal memo summarizing these statutes and how they apply. Provide specific statute citations and language. Outline a defense response strategy to use in a motion or deposition. Just tell me what format you want: memo, motion language, or plain bullet points.